My girlfriend is always ranting and raving about how cute and adorable her wee dog is, and so I thought I would turn him into the least cute thing that I could think of, which is a Nazi.
Some of this stuff. You know what your name is, you know who you are.
Yeah,
you don't need
that's a good point.
Right?
That's a good
Just
point.
talk.
Hello everyone, my name is Dominik Dobrowolski. I'm a Polish filmmaker with an interest in all things dark and funny. Generally things good God-fearing people find offensive. Over the past few years, I've been more and more interested in the topic of freedom of speech through some cases, some of which I will be discussing today. Before we begin, we have to define what freedom of speech is. Amnesty International, the leading movement in equality and human rights, defines freedom of speech as the right to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas of all kinds by any means. Right, so now that we know what the leading movement on equality and human rights have to say about freedom of speech, let's have a look at the UK laws and see what they have to say. Article 10 of the Human Rights Act, Freedom of Expression, 1998, protects your rights to hold your own opinions and express them freely without government interference. This includes the right to express your views aloud, for example, through public demonstrations, published articles, books, leaflets, TV, radio broadcasting, works of art, and the internet/social media. However, we all know what that means. Whenever they say you have freedom of speech, but you don't have freedom of speech. The exercise of these freedoms, since it carries with it duties and responsibilities, may be subject to such formalities, conditions, restrictions, or penalties as are prescribed by law and are necessary in a democratic society. By the way, freedom of expression is basically freedom of speech. Well, that went from reasonable to terrifying really quickly. After that massive but, this article turned very vague and basically took a 180 turn on the whole without government interference, because who exactly does the penalty money go to, if not the government? It's grey areas like these that allow for people to be arrested for stupid things such as being grossly offensive. Which is particularly scary because this day and age, it seems like everyone and dogs are being labelled things such as racist. Count Dankler is a Scottish YouTuber who, back in 2016, made a video on YouTube where he made his pug dog do a Nazi salute on him, saying things such as, "Gas the Jews."
Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Who's a good wee Nazi? What, gas the Jews? Gas the Jews?
Now, you'd have to be pretty stupid to not take that video as anything but a joke. Marcus, which is his real name, even said in the video that he isn't racist and he just wanted to piss off his girlfriend.
I'm not racist, by the way. I just really wanted to piss her off.
While teaching her pug dog some new tricks. Despite all this, Marcus was arrested, and in 2018 he was found guilty of being grossly offensive and was fined £800, but narrowly avoiding prison. He refused to pay the fine, and that was pretty much the end of that. Now, as happy as I am that the fine didn't get enforced, there shouldn't have been a fine at all. In regards to this case, Index on Censorship, Freedom of Speech campaign group, Chief Executive Jody Ginsburg argued the conviction in a statement. Defending everyone's right to free speech must include defending the right of those who say things we find shocking and offensive. Otherwise, that freedom is meaningless. Humour is a very subjective thing. Something you find funny, other people might not. Jewish people might get offended by jokes about Jewish people. Black people might get offended about jokes about black people. White people can get offended about jokes about black people. But at the end of the day, if you can't take a joke, you're not a victim. You're an idiot. No, seriously. A study by the Medical University of Vienna found that people who have a dark or taboo sense of humour showed lower levels of mood disturbance and aggression than those with a conventional humour style, as well as having higher levels of intelligence as they can see things from different points of view, suggesting that humour is not linked to behavioural actions and therefore should not be taken as a threat. In conclusion to the Count Dankula case, I've been watching this channel for years now, fairly religiously, and from what I've seen, I can safely say that Marcus Meechan is not a racist. he is in a way a freedom of speech martyr who struggles to get a job and live his life normally due to the lies of the media, who see him as nothing more than a cash cow. It's unfortunate that his channel performs so much better than any of their articles. I highly recommend his series, Absolute Mad Lads, on YouTube. He discusses various people and animals throughout history. It's educational and entertaining as hell. As an atheist who grew up in a religious household, freedom of speech around religion particularly annoys me. This next case revolves around a grammar school teacher in Bartley, UK, who in March 2021 got suspended after showing his class a picture of a drawing of the Prophet Muhammad. The teacher received multiple threats from the Muslim community as any drawings depicting the Prophet are strictly forbidden. For everyone, apparently. One of the many issues with this is that the government doesn't have any guidelines on teachers showing the Prophet. The Kirklees Borough local guidelines, which are followed by the grammar school, say that by the end of Key Stage 2, children should be able to give reasons on why visual representations of God and the Prophet are forbidden in Islam. However, they also state that key religious values including democracy, human rights, rule of law, secularism, freedom of expression, and tolerance should be taught in Key Stage 3. These guidelines contradict themselves since children are taught that drawings of the Prophet are forbidden, but are also taught to be tolerant of other people's beliefs and values, which would suggest having the awareness that not everyone in life you meet is going to have the same religion or morals or values as you, or even follow the same religious laws. I find the morons protesting outside led by example. But not all, my friends, not all. The Muslim Institute, an online support and research tool for Muslims, stated that a major disease that afflicts the Muslim Ummah at present is a disease of hypersensitivity. We Muslims have an extremely high sensitivity rate, and whenever an incident occurs, we are called upon the Islamic priesthood to rise and defend the religion. I'm sure you know my views on the topic right now. It makes no sense that any non-Muslim should have to follow the rules that are specific to the Islamic faith. That's like all supermarkets not selling food all day because it's Ramadan. The only victim here is the teacher who is now living his life in fear of losing his job and potentially his life. In 2020, a similar event occurred. 47-year-old history teacher from France, Samuel Paty, was accused of showing the Prophet Muhammad in one of his lessons. Because of this incident, Samuel was beheaded outside of his school. There's a lot of confusion between freedom of speech and hate speech. I think this is because the laws on freedom of expression are very unclear. I also think that hate speech is a term that is often used to dismiss actual criticism and to demonise the people whose opinions differ to ours. I don't want to live in a world where hypersensitive dolts affect the way everyone lives their lives. Why are we letting emotional responses take away our freedoms? The sensitivity in groups such as Black Lives Matter actually cause more damage than good. They ironically create more hate because kids are growing up and seeing violent protests and lootings and associating that with Black Lives Matter. Same with black kids growing up saying, oh, look how evil white people are, and you can only be racist if you're white. It creates racial tensions when in reality we're all the same. It's just a shame that these vocal minorities get the loudest voice. It feels like the world we live in isn't one of equality and democracy when it comes to freedom of speech. Most people just go with the grain to avoid any negative consequences, even if it's not what they truly believe when it comes to the things they say. The people who do speak their minds are often vilified and their words deemed dangerous. On the other side of the coin, newspapers get away with some pretty horrible stuff. In 2016, The Sun published this article. 1 in 5 Brit Muslims' sympathy for jihadis. The European Commission Against Racism and Intolerance completed a report on the incident for using offensive and discriminatory language. Maybe it was misleading. I don't know how they came up with that statistic, but okay. That year, the police reported a sharp rise in Islamophobia, so it is possible that that article caused actual harm to a specific group of people. Ironically, in 2019, The Sun posted an article about our boy Count Dankula. Racist row. Nazi pug yob and UKIP candidate Mark Meechan was prominent user of racist online forum. Meechan, 31, posted in the forum which featured racist language and threats against ethnic minorities. The site they're talking about is called Discord. It's an online group-based messaging site that primarily focuses on gaming but can be pretty much about anything. Marcus had his own group on Discord. It's a good way for YouTubers to let their fans interact with them and themselves. I actually used to be in Marcus's Discord, and yeah, there was offensive stuff posted by edgelords trying to make you laugh. But if you know Marcus's politics, which I'm sure most of his fans do, then the amount of racists in that forum would be very, very small. And these newspapers know this, but obviously that's a good headline and it'll get them clicks. So these newspapers know exactly what to say and how to phrase things to not get themselves sued. If you want to know someone's views in politics, search for them yourself. Go on Ken Dankler's YouTube channel, watch the video where he does the political compass. Don't rely on sources that rely on rage bait bullshit articles to stay afloat. It's like there's one rule for the media and one rule for us with freedom of speech. Both of their headlines breach the 2003 Communications Act, which states a person is guilty if, for purpose of causing annoyance and inconvenience or needless anxiety to another, they send by means of public electronic communication network, in this case online news, a message that they know to be false. End quote. Where are their fines? Why aren't they facing any punishment? Their lies actually affected people. Count Dankula wasn't able to get a job after his arrest due to the public perception of him, thanks to headlines like the one discussed, when all he did was make a joke.
I was in 2 episodes. It would have been 3, but I slept in. They actually had to send a taxi to my house to get me. And as a result of it getting out there, look at that. Look at that, just straight up calling me a Nazi.
The laws on freedom of speech are very unclear and seem to contradict themselves, which allows for media companies to find loopholes and prison sentences for people saying mean words. No one should be facing any kind of legal repercussion for expressing their opinion or making a joke. No matter how repulsive it may be, it should be their freedom of speech. We don't know who will be in charge in the future, and if we allow for these laws to stay how they are and create ones that suppress freedom of speech even further, then we are giving these unknown future rulers so many tools to play with. They might have secret agendas that will come out when they're in power, because we all know politicians lie. You just don't know. And it's only getting worse. Very recently, a new bill has been passed which gives police more power to stop protests if they deem to cause intimidation or harassment or cause serious unease or alarm or distress to bystanders. However, in the same bill it states that freedom of expression is a cornerstone of British democracy. Thanks for watching this documentary. If you want to get involved and find out more about the freedom of speech movement, visit websites such as Defend Free Speech or Amnesty International. I've linked these in the description below the video, along with Count Dankler's channel. You smell that? The smell of freedom. Once you smell it, you can't live without it. Right, I'm going to go do nothing for the whole summer. I'll see you in a bit. Bye. Ooh. Oh, a bunch of bloody fascists.